because since it's the holiday season, I'm making one of my favorite recipes that my aunt has been making for quite a long time. She has her own recipe and it's amazing and great, but for some reason, whenever I try to make it, it just doesn't turn out. So I'm gonna leave that recipe with her, and I've kind of made my own modifications with this recipe. And what we're making today is called Christmas crack, or also known as saltine toffee. Why it's called Christmas crack is because one, it is highly addictive, no pun intended, but also once your candy is completely cooled down, it makes a really awesome cracking sound when you're breaking it into little pieces. Another thing that I love about this recipe, it is literally just the power of one is what I remember. So with this, you'll use 1 pack of saltine crackers, 1 cup of unsalted butter, 1 cup of dark brown sugar, 1 10-ounce bag of mini semi-sweet chocolate chips, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and then to top it off, you can use honestly whatever you want. The world is your oyster with this recipe. I'm gonna use chopped pecans because I have some left over from our last recipe. And then on the other half of it, I'm gonna use some holiday sprinkles. But you could use marshmallows, you could use Oreos if you want to. Again, the world is your oyster. So the first thing before I'm gonna start working on the stovetop is I'm actually gonna prep my pan that I will line my crackers with. Right now I have a 10 by 15 baking sheet that I've lined with aluminum foil, and then I've gone ahead and sprayed it with some non-stick cooking spray. So now I'm gonna move over to the stovetop. So we're gonna start this. We're putting the 1 cup of unsalted butter and 1 cup of dark brown sugar and a pinch of salt in our pan. And we're just gonna be stirring this until our butter melts. Once our butter melts, we're gonna let this mixture come to a boil. And then once it's at a rolling boil, we're gonna let this sit for 3 to 5 minutes. We will stir occasionally, and if you have a candy thermometer, these are super helpful. We want this to get to a soft crack stage, so the temperature range that you're looking for this to be at would be between 270 and 290 degrees Fahrenheit. It's starting to pull away from the pan, which is a good sign, so keep stirring. Again, you'll be doing this for about 3 to 5 minutes. We want it in the soft crack phase because we are then gonna put this into the oven, and so that's gonna continuously cook this toffee mixture. One thing with your thermometer, you wanna make sure that the bottom isn't touching the bottom of your pan, because if that happens, you're not gonna be getting an accurate reading of the temperature. You're actually getting the temperature reading of the heat on the pan, essentially, and not the mixture that's happening inside here. So you can tell that we now have like one coagulated mixture. We have hit the soft crack stage. I'm gonna turn this off. So after this mixture has reached a soft crack stage, I'm gonna go ahead and add the 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Stir a little bit, and then we're gonna pour this mixture over all saltine crackers. You wanna work pretty quickly because we are at a candy stage, so we wanna make sure that we're spreading this evenly. You might wanna work a little bit gently, but still kind of fast, because the crackers do have a tendency to move in the pan. The gentler you are, the better. Now that all of your crackers are covered, I have my oven set to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're gonna pop it in for 5 minutes. Once that's done, you're gonna have your chocolate chips handy, and then we're gonna sprinkle it over the mixture. So in the oven this goes. It's gonna have a little bake party. So our 5-minute timer has just gone off. Now what we wanna do is we're gonna sprinkle our mini chocolate chips all over the top of this. I like using mini chocolate chips. They also melt a lot faster than regular chocolate chips. So we're gonna let those sit for about 30 seconds. You'll start to notice that the chips will start to melt. And then we're gonna take an offset spatula and spread the chocolate around, make sure that we're covering all the edges. I'm using semi-sweet because it's a little bit more of a bitter chocolate. It gives you a little bit better of a balance when you're talking about like making your desserts or making your candy. So we're offsetting super sweet with some bitter chocolate, which is a nice balance. You can tell that a lot of our chocolate chips are nice and glossy, so it's about time to spread. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. At this point, your crackers might move just a little bit, so again, just work pretty gently. Another thing that we're actually doing when we're letting our chocolate chips set is we're tempering our chocolate in a sense, because we're getting it to a temperature so that way when we do put it in the fridge later to cool, we're not gonna have bloom chocolate. And bloom chocolate is when you have little bits of white. You've probably noticed that on some store-bought chocolate bars that you've seen. And all that means is that the fat solids in your chocolate are cooling down at a faster temperature than the rest of the sugar and milk that is inside the chocolate. Alrighty, I think we are pretty even here. And so now is the fun part. We're just gonna sprinkle and decorate. So I think I'm gonna do a diagonal pattern with half of this. So I'm gonna do half the chopped pecans. I actually like to, on this part as well, use some sea salt as well. I just think it's a nice balance. I'm a big fan of the salty sweet kind of caramel situation. So this definitely reminds me of like salted caramel. There you go. Now, so for holiday sprinkles, you wanna go light and generous, or go crazy if you want to. But something fun for the season. So now we're gonna let this sit at room temperature for 30 minutes. Once it's at room temperature, we're gonna stick it in the fridge for about 2 hours. Our toffee candy Christmas crack has now been done sitting in the fridge for 2 hours. So I just took it out of the fridge and now I'm gonna break it up into loose snack-sized pieces and then it's ready to enjoy. That's the great thing that I love about this recipe is it's super simple to make. I love this recipe, it's super addicting, and I hope that you enjoy this with your family for the holidays.